my name is Chloe and today I'm here with a brand new video. Welcome to Brunette Bibliophile, where I post bookish videos and writing content. Today I'm here to talk about everything that I read during the month of June. First of all, I will say the obligatory, I cannot believe June is already over. This month did fly by, and I also feel like things that I read during the month were so long ago, like how could it even still be the same month? But also, the month was full of fun things. I did work a lot, but I also went back to BookNet Fest this year, and I have a whole vlog of that, so I will link it in the description below. And that was such a fun time, so I got to spend great time with my friends. Also did a bunch of reading. So today I'm here to talk about the things that I read during the month of June, and we're just gonna dive right in and go ahead and get started. I had a good combination of rereads, new books, and library books. And we're actually going to start off right away with a reread. So the first book I completed this month was Blood Witch by Kate Tiernan. This book may look familiar to you because I also talked about it last month. This is a bind-up of the first 3 books in the Sweep series, and I finished book 3, which is in this bind-up. And I'm just slowly moseying my way through a reread of this series. It is a 15-book series, and I'm just kind of casually reading it when I have the time. I think the next book is where a big event is going to be happening, so we'll see whenever I pick up that. But this series is definitely a product of its time, which is the early 2000s. But it's such a nostalgic read for me that I'm just really enjoying rereading this series. The next book was a brand new author for me, and something that has been very hyped on Book Talk and in the dark romance world, and that book was Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. My coworker read this book and she really enjoyed it, plus it's been all over Book Talk, so I decided it was my time. Definitely read the triggers related to this book because it is very, very dark. I don't really have any triggers that I need to look out for in books, but a lot of this book definitely had me questioning myself. It is a stalker romance, but our main male character, Zaid, also does a lot of good work. I don't know if saying what he does is a spoiler, so I'm just not going to say it right now, but trigger warnings. 1000% read the trigger warnings before you go into this book. I have heard the second book is way darker than this, and this book was pretty dark. I do anticipate finishing the series because this one did end on a cliffhanger. But yeah, the entire time I was questioning myself as I read this book. And on that note, I gave it 4 stars, and I am looking forward to the sequel. Next, I read Imogen, Obviously, by Becky Albertalli. This is her new 2023 release, and we are following Imogen, who identifies as straight, but she is a powerful ally in the LGBT+ community. But then when she goes to visit her friend Lily at college, she is asked to pretend that they are exes. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was such a refreshing read from Becky Albertalli. I enjoy all of her work, but a lot of her books since Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda have really ended up just being 4 stars for me. But this one was such a refreshing coming-of-age story, and the questions that you ask yourself when you're trying to figure out what your identity is just, it was just so pure, and I loved it so much. 5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. Next, a reread for me was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This was my first full read-through of the book since I originally read it at the end of 2021. And I actually read this to do some annotations. So this is not the copy that I annotated in because it is currently with my friend Desiree from Libri Labra, who's going to be rereading and doing her own annotations in the book. I had such a fun time rereading this, and it really solidified why I love this book so much, and also why I love Ali Hazelwood so much. 5 stars. The next book I read was Meet Cute Diary by Emery Lee. This is a first from this author for me, and in this book we are following a trans boy who has a blog called the Meet Cute Diary, and it is a series of submitted meet cutes from transgender people. The catch with all of these submissions is that none of them are actually real, and Noah has been making them up the entire time. And it's also a fake dating trope. So this one I ended up giving 4 stars. I enjoyed the representation and overall enjoyed the story, but this is also a really good example of why I think I'm moving away from young adult books. Something that is kind of one of my issues with young adult books, which is just something for me, is that when somebody has been with their partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, for very little amount of time, and they're like, I love you so much. And I'm like, but do you? You have so much growing up to do between being a teenager and being an adult, like a fully fledged adult. I think it's one of my icks, is just the I love you after such a short amount of time, which is wild because I read so many insta love stories and I really enjoy them, but I think it honestly depends on the book. And there were some elements of our main character Noah that really solidified how young and kind of immature he could be. But overall, with the story as a whole, I enjoyed it and gave it 4 stars. There were just a couple of those things that irritated me, but I'm trying to keep an open mind knowing that this book is not meant for my age group, and it just kind of helps me solidify that I'm moving away from young adult books. Next, I read Lore Olympus Volume 4 by Rachel Smith, and this one I am giving 3 stars. For me, a lot of graphic novels end up being middle of the road, and with this series in particular, I feel like I flip-flop with each book that comes out. I enjoy it, I don't enjoy it. I enjoy it, I don't enjoy it. So this one being kind of middle of the road, like, okay, I'm gonna continue on in the series, is good. So Volume 5 is coming out, if not later this year, then early next year. And I also don't know how long this series is going to be, but I'm kind of I just want Hades and Persephone to realize that they love each other. And that's really all I have to say about this book. It's just one of those graphic novel series that I'm just keeping my eye on. Next, I read a book that is very hyped, and it is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This has gotten multiple awards at this point. It did win the Goodreads Choice Awards for, I can't even remember, probably fiction. And it also was the Book of the Month, Book of the Year for 2022. So I finally was able to pick it up, and I did listen to the audiobook. And I am giving this one a 3.5 star read, which is definitely not the norm with how popular this book is. I don't think it gets a full 4 star from me, but I can definitely understand why this book is so well loved. Definitely the creation of video games, especially in the 90s, is such an interesting topic, and I totally understand it. But for me, there were some time jumps with this book that were a bit confusing because you don't really know when you're going into a flashback and when you're in the present. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. And also, this book is so long. So long. So for me, it was a 3.5 star, which is leaning more towards a 4. I just didn't think it was a full 4 star from me, but this book does cover a lot of ground. And there are also various trigger warnings with this book as well. Gun violence, death of a loved one, terrorist attacks, car accidents. There is a lot. So I also recommend looking into trigger warnings with this book before going in as well. But I definitely understand why it is such a loved book and why it has won so many awards. And the final book I am going to quickly talk about is the BookTube Chicks Book Club pick for the month of June, and it was Little White Lies by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the first in a duology from her that came out pre-Inheritance Games. I'm not going to talk too much about this book, but I only ended up giving it 3 stars. The thing that I really like about Jennifer Lynn Barnes books is when she includes puzzles. I think that is such an interesting thing because that's what really grabs me with mystery books, is puzzling aspects of them. The Inheritance Games definitely had that. This book was set in a debutante world of being presented to society in like old Southern families. And a lot of it was mainly just drama. And also there was a twist at the end that I was kind of just like, really? That's what you decided to go with? So I don't plan on continuing on with this series, but I think if I had read this before I read the Inheritance Games, I maybe would have enjoyed it a bit more because I wouldn't have been expecting so much, like with how good the Inheritance Games was. So overall, 3 stars with this one. I'm going to link our live show in the description below. And make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BookTubeChicks for more information regarding any of our future live shows or book club picks. So that is everything that I picked up during the month of June. There were some things on my TBR that I wasn't able to get to that I'm kind of just pushing into July, and I'll just get to them hopefully very soon. But that is all I have for you all today, so thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. As always, if you like what you see here, please go ahead and click subscribe. I post new videos every week, so click subscribe so you can be updated for when I post those. Thank you all so much. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
In the darkness, I don't feel so cold.